I don't think this is one that we're going to be going backwards and forwards on with the interviews and the social media. You know, I said to George that, of course, I'm going to get asked about it a lot this week. There's nothing really to tell you other than we've accepted terms that were offered. We'll await the contract and fingers crossed. So I don't expect to. I mean, we live in a world of rolling updates, but I think we'll work quietly and see if we can get it done.
Well, I speak on behalf of all boxing fans. We hope we have some good news regarding that fight. Also, yeah.
All right, that was Eddie Hearn doing an interview on the his YouTube channel, the Matchroom Boxing YouTube channel. Earlier today, this was shot from my understanding. If not earlier today, then definitely yesterday. Right now, September the 13th, 2022. It is Tuesday. You have Canelo versus Golovkin 3 this Saturday. So Eddie Hearn is the promoter of that event. And he is in Vegas right now. So this video or this interview is no more than, let's say, a day old. But it was published today on the Matchroom Boxing YouTube channel. You can go watch it. So basically, he's saying that he met with George Warren. Who is George Warren? Is that Frank Warren's son, one of his sons, or a brother? But basically someone from Queensberry Promotions, and they've been talking, they've been in contact because there's still some bad blood between, as he would call him, Frank Warren would call Eddie Hearn, Edward. So that alone is going to be a talking point to see them at a press conference together promoting what would be still, despite Anthony Joshua losing 2 straight fights to Alexander Usyk, clearly losing, still Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua is the biggest fight in Australian history. So what you hear from him is, I want to go and play this back because you can tell that he really doesn't like the fact that it was a take it or leave it type of deal. Like, you know, Frank Warren and Frank Warren and Queensberry were like, look, this is the contract Tyson Fury is giving out. This is the contract we feel is fair. 60-40 split, December the 3rd. You know, if AJ wins in the rematch, it'll be 50-50. And AJ wants it, but you can tell that Eddie Hearn, you can tell something, you know, let's go back and listen to it though. Let's go back and listen to it. Take your time out, like the video, subscribe. For those who are just getting here, welcome to the Fight View 360 Boxing Podcast. We're going to be here for about 45 minutes or so. I am exhausted. I have been in the gym 7 days straight. 13 of the last 14 days. No, excuse me, 13 of the last 15 days, and I'm painting the kitchen. I'm exhausted. You know, so, but either way, it's a big fight week. The show must go on. So on today's show, we're going to talk about obviously opening up with Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua. Then we got to talk about the fight of the week, Canelo versus Golovkin 3, how it just don't feel no buzz. But we're going to go check in on the grand arrivals that happened earlier. Like, let me tell you something. This doesn't feel like a Canelo or Golovkin fight week or Canelo fight week, period. We got to talk about what's going on with Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford. And, of course, since the Queen died, we lost Clarissa Shields versus Savannah Marshall until October the 15th. I was kind of hoping that greed would prevail over the Queen's death. They tried, but at the end of the day, the fight was canceled about a couple of hours after the weigh-in was supposed to originally take place last Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern. But let's go listen to what Eddie Hearn had to say. For those who didn't get a chance to see this. Here, I'll put the link in the chat for you. It's on the Matchroom Boxing YouTube page, and he did a sit-down with one of his team members, basically talking about, you know, what's been going on with Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, Conor Ben, Chris Eubank Jr., which is still on. That's why I didn't entertain none of the news that came out yesterday about Chris Eubank Sr., the fake sheriff, talking about how the fight was going to be canceled because of the 157-pound catch weight. I didn't believe none of that. But anyway, take a time out, like the video, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at T Street Controversy and at Fight View 360.
We accepted the offer in writing on Friday. Obviously, let the weekend pass, and then this morning, AJ 258 and ourselves just put a statement out to say, look, just to let you know, we've accepted all terms put forward by Tyson Fury for that fight. Spoke to George Warren again this morning. We expect to receive a contract in the next couple of days, and hopefully we can move forward with a fight. You know, there's no...
Okay, so the terms were sent out. Matchroom and the management company and Eddie Hearn, 258 Management, they've agreed to the terms. So that's what that means. They looked over the terms, they agreed to it, and now the contract for everything is being drafted up. So once again, it will be a 60-40 split for in favor of Tyson Fury. It will be happening December the 3rd. Where's it going to be? In Cardiff? Isn't that the stadium that can close? And if it's a rematch, if Anthony Joshua wins, then it will be a 50-50 split. Also, Anthony Joshua has just popped up in the WBC rankings, which was bound to happen. He is now ranked, I believe, number 5 or 6.
Reason not to now. The kick it or leave it, and we took it. We accepted the offer of Warren, that we had an offer for the fight. We weren't happy with all the terms. We tried to negotiate those terms and we were told there is no negotiation, take it or leave it, and we took it. We accepted the offer in writing on Friday, obviously let the weekend pass, and then this morning AJ 258 and ourselves just put a statement out to say, look, just to let you know, we've accepted all terms put forward by Tyson Fury for that fight. Spoke to George Warren again this morning. We expect to receive a contract in the next couple of days and hopefully we can move forward with a fight. You know, there's no reason not to now. The key terms are agreed. Obviously, there's broadcaster situations to sort out, which at the moment is all extremely positive. So fingers crossed. I'm not going to go too deeply into it and not start he said, she said, because at the moment, you know, we're in a good place. It's not what we expected. You know, coming off the Usyk defeat, I felt AJ would come back with an easier fight in December and maybe one in the spring, and then Dillian Whyte and Wilder. But this is the fight that AJ's wanted for so long, and he wasn't prepared to wait any longer. You know, he felt this could be his only opportunity to get the fight with Tyson Fury. Everybody asks him about that fight all the time. He's continuously fought all challengers. He's continuously fought everybody that people wanted him to fight or tried to fight them, and this is another example of that. So, as I said, you know, I think Mr. Fury has a great deal, but this one wasn't really about the money for AJ. This was about the challenge, and we accept the challenge.
The terms that have been reported, 60-40, first fight in favour of Tyson Fury, 50-50 split if AJ wins the rematch. Are those accurate as far as you're concerned?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, we weren't allowed to negotiate. You know, in all deals you negotiate, but we were told unequivocally, no movement.
Look, you can tell us eating him up.
And, you know, we were treated like the B-side going into the fight. Whether that's right or wrong, it doesn't really matter, because it came down to AJ wanting the fight. And remarkable run, you know, I'll talk about Anthony Joshua's resume, you know, and dating back to Dillian Whyte and Brazil and Molina and Klitschko and Takam and Parker and Povetkin and Ruiz, Pulev, Usyk, Fury. I mean, this may be the greatest resume or run of fights for any heavyweight of our generation. He's still...
Now, it is true that financially AJ is the A side, but he's lost 3 of his last 5 fights. He don't got no belt. And with the way things are set up right now, Usyk having the WBA, IBF, and WBO, the mandatories are already in line for all 3 of those belts. For example, the WBO is going to be the winner of Joe Joyce and Joseph Parker, a fight that I'm going to be looking forward to. And we're going to be streaming during the main event and providing full coverage. That's happening on September the 24th. The IBF is now Felix Hergovitz, who in my opinion should have lost to CCP Zheli Zhang. Big bang. And the WBA is going to be contested between the winner of Hughie Fury and Michael Hunter. They have to fight Trevor Bryan to be the WBA. And as far as the WBC is concerned, you have Deontay Wilder taking on Robert Helenius. And then there's some conflicting news going on, because you had Andy Ruiz defeat Luis Ortiz in an eliminator, a semifinal eliminator. But then you have Deontay Wilder and Robert Helenius fighting on October the 15th on PBC on Fox pay-per-view here in the States. Is that a final eliminator? But either way, we're going to see Deontay Wilder, if he beats Robert Helenius, against Andy Ruiz sometime in April or May of 2023. So basically, the point I'm trying to make is Anthony Joshua, this is going to be his last sniff at a title for a long time. Now, Eddie Hearn had talked about how he wanted to take Anthony Joshua on a tour, and me and my colleague on our podcast, me and Mikey, we did a podcast talking about how basically it's going to be all about the money for AJ from here on out. Yeah, he's getting this shot against Fury if it gets finalized, but originally the plan was for him to fight maybe a comeback fight in December against maybe an Otto Wallin, maybe a Dylan White, then go try to chase after the Deontay Wilder fight, which they probably likely wasn't going to get, you know, and then go fight Big Bang Zhili Zhang up in China, which will be, you know, a big money fight, and go along that circuit. There's still big fights out there for Anthony Joshua, but as Eddie Hearn said, Anthony Joshua is the boss, and Anthony Joshua wanted this fight. And I think that because of the 2 straight losses to Usyk, 60-40 is fair. And you're not undefeated and you don't have a belt. But financially, I don't think we can argue that Anthony Joshua is the financial A side. So you can tell that's been eating up Eddie Hearn, that, you know, they're like, listen, no, we're not trying to hear none of that shit. Meaning Frank Warren, Queensberry Promotions, BT Sport, that whole side over there, they're like, no, it's take it or leave it. You know, here's the terms, and we feel it's generous. 60-40 split, December the 3rd. If you win, 50-50. You know, and for him to go rattling off the resume of Anthony Joshua, you can just tell, like, look, he's not saying it, but he's saying it. He's like upset that he have no say in this.
Tyson Fury 50-50 split if AJ wins the rematch. Are those accurate as far as you're concerned?
Yeah, I mean, for so long, and he wasn't prepared to wait any longer. You know, he felt this could be his only opportunity to get the fight with Tyson Fury. Everybody asks him about that fight all the time. He's continuously fought all challenges. He's continuously fought everybody that people wanted him to fight or tried to fight them, and this is another example of that. So, as I said, you know, I think Mr. Fury has a great deal, but this one wasn't really about the money for AJ. This was about the challenge, and we accept the challenge.
My bad. I said Daniel Dubois. Thanks, Hassan. I said Trevor Bryan. No, I meant Daniel Dubois defeated Trevor Bryan. And Daniel Dubois has to fight the winner of Hughie Fury and Michael Hunter to be the WBA mandatory. So apologies for that.
The terms that have been reported, 60-40, first fight in favour of Tyson Fury, 50-50 split if AJ wins the rematch. Are those accurate as far as you're concerned?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, we weren't allowed to negotiate. You know, in all deals you negotiate, but we were told unequivocally.
Now watch and listen to his body language. Just pay attention to this.
Fight in favour of Tyson.
He is hot. He is pissed.
Split if AJ wins the rematch. Are those accurate as far as you're concerned?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, we weren't allowed to negotiate. You know, in all deals you negotiate, but we were told unequivocally, no movement. Take it or leave it. And, you know, we were treated like the B side going into the fight. Whether that's right or wrong, it doesn't really matter, because it came down to AJ wanting the fight. And remarkable run. You know, I'll talk about Anthony Joshua's resume, you know, and dating back to Dillian Whyte and Brazil and Molina and Klitschko and Takam and Parker and Povetkin and Ruiz, Pulev, Usyk, Fury. I mean, this may be the greatest resume or run of fights for any heavyweight of our generation. He still probably won't get the credit, but I hope he does, because ultimately, you know, the gauntlet was laid out, and he ran it, and he wants this fight.
We've done this interview a few times now, Ed, where we've spoken about Joshua Fury. It's looked like it's moving in the right direction. Can you say, hand on heart, this is the closest it's been to happening?
No, because the closest it's been, you know, we signed a contract for the Fury fight. The fight to take place in Saudi Arabia, that fight was agreed, signed. That was the undisputed fight, and unfortunately, the arbitration ruling meant that fight couldn't take place. So, you know, we've already signed for this fight previously. People talk about, does AJ want this fight? People need to realise AJ has never backed down from a fight. He signed for this fight before. He's accepted the fight again now. So we have to receive a contract first. That's the first thing. But generally, you know, if they really want the fight will get made. He's all in for the fight. So I always have my doubts, you know, when
that's a strong term though. They told him when they sent over the terms, no movement. You know, he was trying to, do the whole fast car thing, trying to do the jive talking to get them maybe to get a little bit of a split, probably started rattling off AJ's resume like he just did right there. And they was like, no movement. Like, ooh, power move. No movement.
But everything I hear from George Warren,
take it or leave it.
I believe, and I think that they're saying all the right things. They're telling me they 100% want to make the fight, and if they do, they'll get it.
And we said off camera, DAZN and BT striking a deal. You don't see that holding things up necessarily?
No, I think those conversations are already rolling. I don't see any reason why that can't be an amicable solution can't be found for that. Obviously, you've got ESPN in America, you've got DAZN. The broadcasters could stop this fight, but I don't think they want to stop the fight. I think it's in everybody's interests for the fight to take place. And I don't think any broadcaster would want to be the reason that the British public didn't get this fight. And everybody's extremely positive about the fight. Everyone's extremely excited. Sometimes a fight like this can happen against the head. For years you wait for it, and times it definitely should have happened. And now maybe is a time that, I say it shouldn't happen, but you at least expected it to happen, and it happens. So fingers crossed.
Do you give AJ more chance of beating Tyson Fury than perhaps you did heading into the Alexander Usyk?
I thought he'd beat Usyk. I always think AJ's going to win. I back him every time. I've got his back every time. And I think he's an outstanding heavyweight. He lost to the pound for pound number one. I've always believed he can beat Tyson Fury. But listen, I've written Tyson Fury off before and he's proved me wrong. But like I said, I didn't expect the next fight to be Tyson Fury. But AJ is the boss. He's the guy who makes the decisions. And he says, I may never get the chance again because he fights Usyk, he retires, etc. So if it's here, I accept. And I would have liked to have negotiated a little bit harder. But for AJ, it wasn't really about that. It was like, if this is real, take it.
So we've heard the contract's on the way. So you expect in the next few days we might have some sort of update?
Again, I don't think this is one that we're going to be going backwards and forwards on with the interviews and the social media. I said to George that, of course, I'm going to get asked about it a lot this week. There's nothing really to tell you other than we've accepted terms that were offered. We await the contract and fingers crossed. So I don't expect to, we live in a world of rolling updates, but I think we'll work quietly and see if we can get it done.
Well, I speak on behalf of all boxing fans. We hope we have some good news regarding that fight. Also, yesterday, Twitter went in.
Thanks for the super chat, Lamuneka. Damn, Eddie looks like he's trying to make weight. Yeah, he has gotten a little smaller. Here's a question. Do you think that Joshua thinks he can beat Fury? To me, I just think this is a cash out. But also, what choice did he have to take, like not to take the fight? They couldn't just turn it down because then he would have went, it would have been a clear duck. So, and AJ's in a vulnerable position where, as we talked about, he's not going to be sniffing a title shot via even a mandatory. Yeah, and these sanctioning bodies will love to make him mandatory. But right now, with the WBA, having pretty much the feds on their back, he can't even jump the line right there. So, this was the perfect timing power move by Tyson Fury to be like, all right, listen, we full in control of this situation. What is he going to do? Is he going to duck this? Is he going to duck this? We giving him 60-40. And he getting a title shot. But a part of me, man, just think that Tyson Fury going to break him before they even get in the ring. I didn't like none of that body language from Anthony Joshua. Remember at the final press conference when Usyk, showed up in his, what do you call it? The Korzak? What is it? His war dance attire. He showed up, in the Ukrainian garb, and looked like he was about to, do like a war dance. So he started singing, a national war song. I forgot what it was. They told me in the comments. And the way Anthony Joshua was like, okay, maybe it's time for me to leave. And he just gently strolled off the stage. He just looked broken going into the fight overall. And then the whole meltdown he had, at the post fight, throwing the man belts out the ring and all that shit, walking around with his flag, giving these fucking long ass speeches, You know, I'm 14 stone, that's why. You know, all that shit. So if Usyk was able to do that to him, not saying nothing, you know, not speaking English and just saying, you know, little short words and just wearing, you know, the crazy haircuts and the war dance celebration clothes, garbs, then Tyson Fury's going to annihilate him. Do you not remember what Tyson Fury told Deontay Wilder? You know how he told him exactly what he was going to do to him? You know, when he had the trainer and he just was like, look, he can have Malik Scott all he want. But he's just going to, once he get punched in the face, he's just going to revert back to the old him. Here, let me see if I can find that for you. You know, and I'm wondering, like, yo, bro, like, Tyson Fury good on the microphone. He might break him before he get into the ring. You know, just to teach him a lesson. Let me see if I can find it. I don't think I'm going to be able to find the clip for you. But yeah, you know, I'm concerned about that. But, you know, it does put American boxing to shame because here you have Anthony Joshua fighting Usyk August the 20th. And then if they fuck around and get this deal done and finalized by next week, because even though they're talking right now, they're drafting up everything. We can have a press conference in 2 weeks. Of course, you know, they got to wait for them to mourn the queen and all of that stuff. But if they put this fight together before they put together Spence Crawford, I'm going to be pissed. Because it's like, yo, he told you what he was going to do. I mean, you know, like crazy. But anyway, I'm going to be pissed because it's like here in the States, we got too much mumbo jumbo bullshit going on. And I understand why it is. I know the truth, you know, but PBC got to get their shit together, man. PBC fighters are assets to the company. And they can't just be lent out. It's not the fighters. Like, they are part of the organization. They're assets. So if the investors don't want them lent out or going to no other networks, then and then maybe lose with no return on the investment, then, you know, but that's not our fault. Like, that ain't the fans' fault. You motherfuckers, you know, pay them all this money. Like, how is that us? Hold on, I'm looking for something. You know, y'all keep paying all these fighters all this money, and y'all got to keep all your fights in-house. Now, of course, you know it's going to be somebody that's going to say, well, all promoters do this. Yeah, they do, but not to the extent of PBC. They will stop the shit out of a fight, bro. I'm talking about you got to pull fucking Al Heyman teeth out, like to get him to send one of his big name fighters. Now he'll send some small guys over to the zone, you know, every now and then, shit like that. But when it comes to like his big top guys, he don't. Even a guy like Keith Thurman, what's going on with him? You know, he don't have enough dates right now, unless something really happens, which I've been hearing about for over a year now. Unless something really happens where Paramount Plus start showing boxing and they get like a new broadcasting deal over there, or they re-up their deal with PBC on Fox, which just shows pay-per-views, by the way. You know, they got too many fighters and not enough dates. But it's like they hold on to the fighters, and it's just like, it's weird. But I was looking for this clip that I posted of Tyson Fury telling Wilder what he was going to do to him. But anyway, how you guys been? You guys all right? We're going to be here covering the final press conference for Canelo versus Golovkin 3, which is going to be on Thursday, and I believe it's at 4 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be here for the weigh-in. It's also at the same time. And I'm not going to be able to find this clip. And we're going to be streaming during the main event. I did a whole podcast on the undercard. The undercard is all showcase fights. Yeah, you got, you know, Bam Rodriguez, you know, Gabriel Rosado, Diego Pacheco, those guys. But for the most part, it's all showcase. It's all showcase fight. You know, it doesn't really like. There's nothing that like really calls me to make me be like, all right, this undercard. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this joint. I mean, yeah, you can, you know, like expect some knockouts, but it's just like, bro. But will both of those fighters? Well, we're not going to talk about that too much. Let's stay on topic with Fury Wilder before we go into Canelo versus Golovkin. But closing thoughts. I said Fury Wilder. Closing thoughts on Fury versus Joshua, though. I believe it's going to happen. I have concerns of if there's going to be network issues, because Tyson Fury is still under contract with Top Rank in ESPN. He's under contract with BT Sport Frank Warren. As it stands right now, Anthony Joshua has a DAZN. He's fully DAZN. He signed with DAZN back in June or so, but Sky Sports had won the rights or paid for the rights for his fight against Usyk. But now he's a strictly DAZN fighter. So how do they do it? Do they do BT Sport box office in the UK and DAZN all around the world, but in the States we do ESPN? They got some things they got to figure out there. And could DAZN and BT Sport do a joint broadcast, kind of like they did with Mayweather Pacquiao? Is it that big to where you can say, all right, if you want to watch DAZN's broadcast, you can buy through them. All right, if you want to watch Showtime, you can buy through them. How do you know? But as long as the fight gets made, I don't give a fuck about none of that shit, for real. But it is interesting because it's like, okay, I want to see how they're going to do this. Because ESPN, they are our number one sports platform here in the States. And DAZN can't compete. But DAZN may want that fight here on their platform in the States because they want to drive audiences to their platform. But I would rather see it be on ESPN. I feel that a fight of that magnitude should get an ESPN push. Just my opinion. You know, let DAZN have Mexico and every other territory outside of America and the UK. Let them have every other territory in the world outside of America and the UK. Simple as that. Because over in the UK, I would even, from what I know, fans would probably want it to be on BT because it's going to be pay-per-view anyway, BT over DAZN because of shoulder content, and you know they're going to like really, really pump it. But BT Sport be having, you know, some of their press conferences, man, been like 3 years. They be having sound issues, blurry ass, it be Vaseline on the camera. Like, you know, they got to get that shit together for a fight like this. But I think it's going to happen. And the only way it doesn't happen is if some network bullshit get in the way. You can tell Eddie Hearn, he really wanted to negotiate. But they told him, take it or leave it. 60-40, there is no movement. Here's the contract. I mean, here's the terms. Do you want it or do you not? And they were going to pull back and be like, all right, we're going to fight somebody else. Because one final thing I want to bring up. Do y'all think Tyson Fury having some money issues? Remember, he was MTK Global's biggest fighter. You think his money, his assets got frozen? Because he's been a little whorish lately. He's been trying to fight everyone. I mean, I'm glad he finally fighting Anthony Joshua, you know, but he's been trying to fight like everybody from the Mountain from Game of Thrones. He wanted to fight Derek Chisora again. People have been saying I'm not one to talk about people's mental health conditions or rumored mental health, but people have been saying he's been bipolar because like his moves, especially on social media, it's been a little weird. You know, it's like, bro, what are you going to do? You know? But I think it's going to happen. You know, because if it doesn't happen, already too much has been discussed in the media. You have Frank Warren on TalkSport. You now have Eddie Hearn saying, yeah, we agreed to everything. You have him saying that he's in daily contact with George Warren, Frank Warren's son, the liaison, the middleman. And you have Anthony Joshua's management team putting out messages and tweets saying it's done. Like, we agreed to everything. You know? Hold on 1 minute. I think I got to take this.
He said, she said, because at the moment, you know, we're in a good place. It's not what we expected. You know, coming off the Usyk defeat, I felt AJ would come back with an easier fight in December and maybe one in the spring, and then Dillian Whyte and Wilder. But this is the fight that AJ's wanted for so long, and he wasn't prepared to wait any longer. You know, he felt this could be his only opportunity to get the fight with Tyson Fury. Everybody asks him about that fight all the time. He's continuously fought all challengers. He's continuously fought everybody that people wanted him to fight or tried to fight them, and this is another example of that. So, as I said, you know, I think Mr. Fury has a great deal, but this one wasn't really about the money for AJ. This was about the challenge, and we accept the challenge.
The terms that have been reported, 60-40, first fight in favour of Tyson Fury, 50-50 split if AJ wins the rematch. Are those accurate as far as you're concerned?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, we weren't allowed to negotiate. You know, in all deals you negotiate, but we were told unequivocally, no movement. Take it or leave it. And, you know, we were treated like the B-side going into the fight. Whether that's right or wrong, it doesn't really matter, because it came down to AJ wanting the fight. And remarkable run. You know, I'll talk about Anthony Joshua's resume, you know, and dating back to Dillian Whyte and Brazil and Molina and Klitschko and Takam and Parker and Povetkin and Ruiz, Pulev, Usyk, Fury. I mean, this may be the greatest resume or run of fights for any heavyweight of our generation. He still probably won't get the credit, but I hope he does, because ultimately, you know, the gauntlet was laid out, and he ran it, and he wants this fight.